All right. Hello, everybody. So excited today. We've got the CEO and founder of Melanin Origins. And I'm so excited about this today because there's just so much, when I came across this set of books and a new author in the 7 book series that they just released, it was just so important for me to see somebody who looked like me. And so um, I'm just so excited to have this author with us today, and he is Mr. Louie T. McClain II, and he is also the author of a 7 book series, which is called Abraham. So I would just like to introduce you and just tell us a little bit more about Melanin Origins.
First off, Sean, thank you so much for having me here on your podcast. Major congrats to you on all your success. It's been great learning about what you stand for. And so Melanin Origins, we are a children's book company. We specialize in children's books about historical pioneers from around the world. So our mission is to provide quality education materials which inspire young minds to aspire for excellence while embracing their heritage. We started our company in 2016 with just one book idea, just to write one book about Booker T. Washington. Our first book was Booker T. Washington, Brick by Brick, a snippet of the life of Booker T. Washington. We went on to complete a 10 book Black History series. Just late last year, our leadership got the idea to do 2 more series. So what we have is we have a Bible series. It's called the All in All series, where our first book is what you mentioned, Abraham's Great Love. But we have 7 books within our Bible series. Then we also have what's called a Ma'at series. So it's series 3, and that covers the principles from the Nile Valley civilization back in ancient Egypt, which caused for ancient Egypt to rise to its greatest heights. So we talk about those principles as well. But overall, we're a global publishing firm. We publish children's books for kids in 2nd grade and below.
So I'm going to ask this. So, you've done it, right? So why do you think it was important to have Melanin Origins out there? Why do you think it was important for you to publish these types of books?
Why was it okay? So why was it important for us to post these types of books? Well, especially our first series. Okay, so our first series that we didn't even plan on actually doing the series. It was just wanted to be one book. But the thought process was, at the time, my kids were 1 and 2 years old, and I started learning more about Booker T. Washington. I started learning more about W.B. Du Bois, Marcus Garvey. I mean, I learned about those individuals when I was 25 years old, at least Marcus Garvey and Ida B. Wells. And as I was getting older, I was like, man, I wonder why I wasn't taught about these people in school, why I didn't learn more about them. And here it is, Booker T, W.B. Du Bois, Marcus Garvey, they had theories on the best ways for Black Americans to progress. Like that, they had these theories over 100 years ago. They had heated debates about it. I mean, this is like very scholarly stuff and very important to our culture today. And I'm looking at my children, I was like, okay, so whenever I was in school, only thing I remember learning was that, there was a fight for civil rights. And the first time I was introduced to our leaders was with the concept of slavery. And so I knew that I had to do something different. I knew that we had to put some more new information out there. And granted, we have many traditionally published authors who've been championing our causes for years, telling stories about Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Harriet Tubman, but I seen the thread. I saw that mostly when stories are told about us, it's told about there's some kind of struggle-based notion, like slavery is always involved. And I thought, for a kid who's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, they don't need to hear all that negative information. Like, this is real life as we get older, we learn about these things, and then we actually have to cope, learn how to cope with these things and overcome them so we can pursue that. That's not the first thing that children need to know as they're starting their educational journey. So that's the concept of Melanin Origins. We take our leaders, we transform them into children so they can be relatable to children, so they can tell their stories. And it's simply meet Ida B. Wells, meet Booker T. Washington, meet Madam C.J. Walker. Here are all the outstanding, all the great things that they did. Here's where they're from, right? And guess what? You have it within you to do those exact same things. That's our predominant message to kids. And we see that message simply just wasn't out there.
Yeah, I'm so with you. I think I've received education in history, especially African-American history, later on in life. It's probably, you're saying 25. I think it was more like maybe 40 or so for me. And, you know, you were talking about if I didn't learn it, then also I didn't have that opportunity to pass it on to my kids as early as I wished I would have. Which brings me to a point to why these books are so important. You know, you're bringing out biblical stories, stories that will help us with our culture. And also, have you been able to see that maybe these books would be placed in the educational environment?
Yes, most definitely. So our goal most definitely is to get these books, all of our books, into daycares, into libraries, into school districts, nationwide, worldwide. So that is a part of it. For our Black History series, we have accomplished that in several school districts within Texas. Even had a piloted at a we had a curriculum piloted at Saintsville Academy here in Fort Worth, and we witnessed a lot of great things as far as that is concerned. Now, you mentioned our Bible books, and that's kind of where we really want to pivot and focus, at least for 2022. So we're looking into vacation Bible schools, we're looking into summer youth programs, we're looking into all of that because yes, yeah, most definitely. I mean, now with our series too, with our All in All series, we took characters from the Old Testament, some of our Old Testament favorites, such as Abraham, Joseph. We talked about Esther, Deborah, Samuel. We took their stories and their lives, and then we aligned it with the fruits of the Spirit from the New Testament. So here it is. You have some of your favorite characters. You have the greatest eternal values, right, with the fruits of the Spirit, and then we're providing stories excuse me, with characters of color, so children can see themselves reflected in the literature as they connect with their faith. I know growing up, I wasn't able to have that connection, right? I was not able to have that connection, and I think that this is a beautiful thing. And so with Black churches, and with the amount of Black churches in the United States of America, with our people naturally being spiritually minded people, I mean, I think that this only makes sense. This only makes sense. So that is the goal: business to business relationships and strategic alliances for 2022. That's where we're headed.
Beautiful. Well, speaking of beautiful things, I have your book. Yay. And it is really a beautiful book. I mean, you know, it's not just you know, just the illustration. I think just the how vivid the colors are in the book.
Wow.
It's really, really beautiful. I don't know if y'all can see that, but and the story is really simple, and I don't know, I think it talks about great love, but what I got from it was obedience.
Yes.
You know, it's like,
Yeah.
wow, it's just such a good book. I love books that are very clear with the message, and this was a book that is very clear in its message. So tell me a little bit more about why you wrote this book, Abraham.
Okay,
Great love.
perfect. So I remember when I was putting the team together, putting the people who were going to publish for this series. I remember whenever we were deciding, okay, which people are we going to write about? We already know what the fruits of the Spirit are, right? We know that. So there's 9 of those. We want to do 7 books. 7's God's number, perfect number, right? So which people are we going to write about? And when we got the list together, Abraham we had to write about Abraham because Abraham, he is the father of faith, right? He's a father. So he's the father of the Christian nation, from the Jewish nation to the Muslim nation. I mean, he is at the foundation, right? The story begins there, right? Of course, Adam and Eve and all that, but from Abraham spawns all these people. And so I wanted to write about someone who would really touch everybody in a sense, right? Touch everyone in a sense. And then when you look at the fruits of the spirit, since Abraham touched everybody, I mean, I knew that I could find a story of love through Abraham, right? And I didn't want to go to Song of Solomon or anything like that. I didn't want to go, to anywhere where there was like a romantic relationship, but I definitely wanted to see where can we find agape love, God's type of love in this story, in his life. And so Abraham, we found, was perfect to start it off with, and perfect to talk about the topic of love. And so Abraham demonstrated love in his life. And you are absolutely right. Whenever you do love, you will obey, right? I mean, I read Proverbs, the book of Proverbs, a lot. And the Bible says that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, right? And so before you can even try to approach, understanding what God is about in life and how to conduct yourself, the very first thing is you need to honor, respect, and revere God and who he is. And if you do that, then you will obey. He will walk you down the path, right? And obedience is paramount. Well, when you love someone, right, then you will obey what they you obey their call, you obey them. Like even in your in a marriage, in a romantic relationship, right? You love so much, so that the calling is to be faithful. The calling is to come together and to help each other whenever they're down. Like the calling is always that. And so you're always moving towards that. And Abraham demonstrated that. I mean, there was a time when him and Lot were traveling, right? They were traveling to go to the land that God had for Abraham. And Abraham's cattle and Lot's cattle, I mean, they just had so many possessions that it was time for them to split up. It was time for them to go elsewhere. I mean, their herdsmen were getting into it. There was a bunch of strife. And Abraham was the first one to step in the situation. And he said, hey, Lot, this is what's going on. How about we just go ahead and split up, right? God's blessed us. If you want to go this way, then I'll turn and I'll go this way. Or let's just let there be no strife between us. He literally said that. And in a society that we're living in now today, where things are more about material possessions, where things are more about, hey, you better give me respect. Hey, you better, don't, you better honor my peace. The step and the stance that Abraham took in that situation, that's just a minor situation, right? The stance that he took in that showed that he was willing to put love, right, as the hallmark of what was going to transform that instead of anger, instead of wrath, instead of I know that I'm right, or you know what I mean? And so I knew that we could find plenty of examples of love from Abraham. I mean, from the fact that Abraham loved God so much that he was in a position to even hear from God. Like the first time that we hear about Abraham in the Bible, it says, now the Lord said unto Abraham, get out of your country. So Abraham, God was speaking to Abraham. And so there's so many examples that we can find from that. And I believe that Abraham really demonstrated the greatest love outside of Jesus Christ in the Bible.
What I thought about while I was reading it was, one is that Abraham had to accept the calling. So that's a big thing, right? He had to accept the calling, but he also had to be positioned in a quiet space to receive his calling. Yes. And I'm just thinking about, like, especially with COVID, how actually allowed us to slow down some and
Yes.
maybe listen a little bit more. Um, and it just made me think about how important it is for us to settle down sometimes and just to listen. I don't know if that was one of the things that you were thinking about when you were writing, but if it was, can you expand on that a little bit?
Yes, definitely. Could you show page 1 from that book?
Absolutely.
Okay. See, now you can say, well,
I would have
hopefully
to.
they can see it.
There we go.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Okay. And now right there it says, now the Lord said unto Abraham, get out of your country. But what do we see Abraham doing? Abraham, he's positioning himself to hear from God. What is he doing? He's being still
Yeah.
and he is meditating. Now, I was very intentional about that being, I mean, look, it's page 1. It's page 1. I was very intentional because, I mean, meditation is something that, the Bible talks about it time and time again. Joshua 1:8, it says, this book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate in it day and night, that you may observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then you'll make your way prosperous, and then you'll make then you'll become a good success. So by finding a place of stillness to commune with God, whether you are reading his word or whether you are focused on hearing his voice, right? Getting to that place of stillness, that is very important. I found it very important to put that image right there as page 1 so that people can see. People can see that this is a part of what made people in great cultures great. This is what a part of allow people to draw closer to God. This is whenever we go into our prayer closet, essentially that is what we are doing, right? And it's very important for us to get back to that. Meditation is very important in my life. Like I have a goal to do it at least 3-4 times a week, right? For at least 10 minutes, just to get to this place of stillness, just a place of stillness, so I can be able to hear more from God and quiet out all the noise from that's going on in the world and just get back to that place. I think we take that for granted. Even though 10 minutes can do so much, we tend to take that for granted, how important it is just for us to stop in our tracks and yeah, we can walk and talk and thank God for the things that we experience, but just to take that time, right? Take that time aside and just to hear from God and to be with your own self. I think it's very important. So I had to provide that imagery in this book.
And getting back to, like, the book is subtitled Greater Love. When I think sometimes, when we look at these practices of self-care, meditation, and all those things, a lot of times people might get it confused and say that you're being a little bit selfish. But when you look at what the book is really about, it was really about that you're going to do a greater good for people. It wasn't about you. And the only way you could do that is to steal away and get into a safe space and hear the message and receive the message or the calling on your life so that you can go and do the good work.
Yes.
I just thought that was really important to bring out, that the book was really just talking about how that you are doing this work so that you can do the greater good for the majority of people, right?
Yeah, and that's what it always is about. And the enemy tries to trick you to think that it's something else. Like, the prosperity this and prosperity that. God told Abraham, I'm going to bless you so that you can be a blessing, right? The things that you're getting that you're going to experience from me so that you can benefit and benefit others so that they can have a similar experience. You can lift them up. And that's what it's all about. And when it comes to love, it's very similar, right? So in the New Testament, Jesus was asked on 2 different occasions, what's the greatest commandment and the law? And he said, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul, right? That's the first and great commandment. And the second is unto it, you should love your neighbor as yourself. And so, side note, typically, and all through the church, we hear that. We definitely hear we're going to love God, right? We definitely going to hear that, right? And then we're also going to hear that we should love our neighbors. Like, we should do that, you know. Now, the call is to love your neighbor as yourself. So I hardly hear anyone talking about how we're supposed to love ourselves. Like, I don't hear a lot, I mean, you know, just written specifically in the Bible about how to love yourself. And so that's a process of, when you're in self-care with meditation, that's a part of that process. Like, the different things that you do for self-care, that's a part of that process, you know, because you have to do that as much as you would do that to yourself. Right. And that is what's very important. And the sad part is that, you know, Christianity, at least Western Christianity within the Black church, you know, I don't think that we hear that enough, or we don't see that being as practical enough. This is, I'm out here, like, just loving myself at this point. You know what I mean? I'm loving myself, you know. Now, of course, not loving yourself in sin, not loving all this negative stuff, you know what I mean? Not hating yourself because of that, you know, like understanding the difference between not hating yourself yet dying to yourself. You know what I mean? Understanding the difference of dying to yourself, picking up your cross, you know what I mean? Not living within your ego, but still loving who it is that God created you to be. Right? Like, that is the fine line. And that is what the Christian walk and spirituality is about. And I'm glad that we can have these conversations, because that's exactly what these books are about, is to throw little subtle things out there. Why is that boy meditating? Why is he doing that? What do you mean? Why is Abraham brown skinned with dreadlocks? What's happening there? We're talking about love in this story, but Abraham's doing all this great stuff for everybody else. I mean, like, what is that? And so that's what it is about, for kids to pick up on these things subtly, for them to see that, for parents to notice that, like, wait a minute, you know what I mean? And for us to have these conversations so that we can carry on and continue, you know, in the faith.
Well, you know, it's just so exciting to me. I'm just going to hold up both of these books because I think they're so beautiful. We got Elisha, which we had Radisha on, and then this is another book in the series, so Abraham's Great Love. So I just think these are beautiful books, and they, you know, it's just one of those things. I didn't see it when I was younger, right? And so you want to share it with people that you love, and the lessons, you know, if I can read this book and then get a couple of lessons saying, I probably need to rest a little bit more, or steal away and get some quiet time so that I can connect a little bit better with the purpose, you know, in my life, then I think these are great books for just adults and kids, you know. So I appreciate it. I appreciate your work and your mission, your cause too, because it is something that, like I said, we don't see much of it. We see a lot of things that kind of talk about how do we get out of the negative things, but these are very positive books, and I just want to let you know I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And you just said something. You said, how do we get out of the negative things? And, you know, for your line of work, that's definitely a lot of things that we inject into our body, like the sugar and things like that. How do we get away from that? And that's something that I've been thinking about as far as, you know, bringing up my kids too, is, you know, there's all these negative things in life, you know, with the social media things we have to safeguard them from, and, you know, do all that. But what am I doing also to insert more positive things into their life as well? So even as you know, the sugar affects a child's, you know, his behavior, you know, it makes him more hyper, you know, it makes, you know, the doctors misdiagnose and do all these different things, right? And, you know, and so kids have all these different issues. So removing that, but then what about also adding in? So now, like, even for 2022, what I'm going to do in my house is we're going to focus on one of the fruits of the spirit once a month. So we're going to focus on love, and conversations at the table is going to be about love. And, you know, for at the end of the week on Friday, we're going to have more in-depth conversations, maybe some kind of talent showcase or something like that. Then to go to the next fruit of the spirit and different things like that. How can I incorporate these topics into my household and to keep that together? And I'm thankful for you and your platform, because I honestly, I mean, I love how you said. I love how you said that you took the bold stance for your family, and then you helped to set your family up so that they can be removed from that. You know, I am gonna have to do that. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna have to be the one for my household. But I recognize the need. You know, whenever I look at my kids and I say, how can I be more effective to them? You know, I have to understand that, you know, the things that I'm allowing them to consume, foods and TV and all that, that's doing something to them that I'll have to be more proactive about counteracting. And so I'm thankful for you as well, of course, sister.
All right. Well, this is great. I just is there anything else that you, how can I get in touch with you? That's one thing. How do you have an Instagram, Twitter?
Yes, for sure, for sure. So we have Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. It's at Melanin Origins. Please follow us at Melanin Origins. Please go to www.melaninorigins.com. You can see our Black History series, our All in All series, our Ma'at series. I mean, you've never seen anything like this. You will be so amazed. You can search us on Amazon. Search Melanin Origins on Amazon. You can find all of our books there. We just appreciate being on this podcast, having this opportunity to showcase our work, our values, and we're here to help your child be better. So thank you so much. MelaninOrigins.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much, and we will talk soon, okay?
All right. Thank you.